I'm sitting in front of one of the negotiating rooms at La Bougie near Paris, France, where negotiations have been going on for the last 2 weeks. They have finished now, and it seems that a proposal for text has been sent to the COP president, Laurent Fabius, the French foreign minister, who is the president of COP21, for his finalization. However, this text has a lot to be desired, according to delegates we've spoken to. First, as we've reported continuously during the 2 weeks, it was neither open nor transparent. Although an effort was made to include all states, civil society, or observers as they're called under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, were excluded from meetings from the very beginning. They were only allowed into meetings in which negotiations were not taking place. Moreover, during the last 2 weeks, the text seems to have gotten weaker almost on a daily or sometimes hourly basis. Human rights and health have been taken out of the operative paragraphs of the new agreement and only appear in the preamble. There is no health, for example, in the adaptation Article 4 of the agreement. Things that were very important to developing countries, actually necessary for their survival, have also been watered down or almost depleted of any meaning. For example, the provisions on loss damage seem to be extremely weak, and adaptation has no finance, no capacity building, or no access to technology included in it. So how states will be able to undertake adaptation activities that developed countries want to be binding legally on developing countries, is a question that has not been answered in this treaty. Perhaps most harrowingly is the mitigation requirements. Article 3 on mitigation is extremely weak. Essentially, states undertake the mitigation that they want to undertake, and the mechanisms for enhancing this ambition are almost as weak as the article itself. In other words, states have not agreed to cut emissions in a manner that would make our planet habitable for future generations. That's a very severe shortcoming of this agreement. Nevertheless, it is doubtful that any state will oppose the agreement. The reason for that is not that they think it's a good agreement, but it's that the French government has put so much pressure on states, particularly developing states, sometimes with allies, that none of them can refuse even a bad deal. Unfortunately, it is not only the almost 20,000 participants that will have to live with this deal, but it's the 7 billion people on this planet. And it's unlikely that this agreement will deliver the protection that they need. This means that we will probably continue to work on agreements like this or other types of norms in the Conference of the Parties under the United Nations Framework Convention in future years, trying to correct once again the errors that we have made in this agreement and its shortcomings. We'll see what the actual agreement is at least a day late, when tomorrow, Saturday morning at 9 a.m., the French presidency, Laurent Fabius, the president of COP21, has promised that he will produce a new text. At the moment, lots of states are scrambling to see where this text is being written. They know there is a legal and editing group that has been put together under the chairmanship of a Colombian and Australian, but they don't know where it is working. That information seems to be classified. Once again, not only are civil society and observers kept out of the process, but now even most states are having trouble following how this final text will be put together that will be presented to the COP tomorrow morning. Today I also spoke with one of the people most affected by the agreement that we are trying to achieve here in Paris, France. That is a member of the Youngo group. the youth group that is advocating for a strong climate agreement. This is what she had to say about some of the aspects of the agreement.
As a young person, I am concerned about my future and the future of my children and other generations to come. And I believe that loss and damage is one of the most profound issues for future generations that is going to be negotiated and decided upon here in Paris. As youth, we will inherit losses and damages on this planet, and we need to make sure that we have the tools and strong mechanisms to respond to that future. At the moment, in the Paris Agreement, the draft text, both the decision text and the agreement text, there are explicit mentions of loss and damage articles. These articles contain a number of provisions that would, in theory, set up the infrastructure to respond to climate impacts in years to come. However, at the moment I feel as though the text could be stronger than it is. In previous drafts of this text, they had mentioned a climate displacement coordination facility, which would mean the creation of a new institution to deal with issues surrounding climate displacement. In the most recent drafts of this text, that facility language has been removed, and it's been replaced with language that's a little bit more ambiguous about the need to create and to facilitate collaboration and do research about these issues to understand them better. I don't necessarily think that the term facility needs to make it into the text. However, I really, really hope that the current bracketed option, which implies the need to catalyze action on this issue, is the option that is chosen in the final text. I believe that climate displacement is one of the most profound issues that will be facing future generations, and that this text today, which will set the agenda for years to come, needs to explicitly recognize the rights of displaced persons and their need for protection.